Two, one. We are speaking with the one and only Candice Night of Blackmore's Night. The new album, Nature's Light, comes out at the end of this week, March 12th. It is March 8th. It is my wife's birthday, so it's an absolute perfect birthday gift for her and for anybody else who has gifts to give. As we say here in Montreal, bonjour, Candice. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And happy early birthday to your wife.
Oh, it's her birthday today, actually. So I gotta run downstairs.
You got her something nice, Mitch.
I got her this beautiful background. And I got these dogs over here on the bed, but
love is priceless in any form. So
it is. We are celebrating 19 years married this year. So
congratulations. When is that? 19 years? What?
So we're looking at June 28th of 2002. So June 28th, 2021, coming up soon.
Great accomplishment.
It is. How long have you been married, by the way, with Richie?
Well, Richie and I had what we planned to be the longest engagement from the human species. Apparently, we got engaged in 1993, and we didn't get married till 2008.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. And honestly, the only reason this is the true story. The only reason we really got married, I'm the oldest of three in my family.
Right.
So, I have to do everything first, test the waters first, and my brother is 2 years younger than me. And he called me up one day and he said, listen, I found the one. I'm getting married next year. I just want you to know. And I said, no, I have to be married first because I am the firstborn. And he said, we've been waiting for you to be married since 1993. He's like, I don't know. We're still waiting. I'm not waiting on you anymore. So ironically, what I did was I planned everything really fast, and my brother planned his wedding. It was for, November of 2008. So I just kind of eked in there and I got married in October of 2008. So I did it right the month, right before him, so I could still be the first one.
So you can say to him, I beat you. I got you. I beat you. That's funny.
Thing, I don't know. You got to do the first things when you're first born. You've got to brave that path.
Yeah, ours was we didn't have a long thing like that, but eventually up here in Quebec, common law and real marriage, there's differences in all kinds of ways, child tax benefits, and so we just said, you know what, let's just get it done, and then everything is going to work out. Nature's light will guide the way.
Exactly. That natural evolution the planets will align and everything will be what it has to be.
It has to be. So let's talk about this. The medieval thing, which is interesting because we have a lot of medieval reenactments, especially up here in Quebec with, the old forts and all that. What attracted you to that sound? Because you were a fan of Richie's, you were a fan of Rainbow, you were a fan of that hard rock music. What attracted you to the medieval music?
Still am a fan of all that, by the way. That never goes away. Once that's in your blood, that never really goes away. It's a matter of Richie told me he had to take the car today, and I have Hair Nation programmed in, and he's like, he gets in the car and it's blasting. He's like, oh, what's going on? So he always knows that I was the one driving it last.
Oh, it's funny. I can just imagine Richie sitting around listening to Warrant. No offense to anybody, but that's kind of funny. That's a funny visual. Can you just imagine tapping on the steering wheel, singing Cherry Pie? That's terrific.
That would be interesting. That would never.
Still.
So I used to go to Renaissance. You talk about the medieval reenactments. I used to go to Renaissance fairs, but I never even heard of Renaissance or medieval music until I met Richie. So I think for anyone who was following Richie's career and his path, they realized that way back in the early days, he was, even with Purple, he was jamming on green sleeves. He was writing songs with Ronnie James Dio, Temple of the King. There were so many medieval kind of influenced songs that he had because he'd been listening to this music off stage so often. I never heard the stuff before I met him. And when I met him, that's all he listened to around the house back in those days in the tape player. And when I moved in with him in
93,
yeah, the early 90s, it was actually 91. I moved in with him. We got engaged in 93. So yeah, we were living together for about 2 years before that in Connecticut in this old English Tudor house with a medieval minstrel's gallery and very dark lighting, and all the wood was very dark, and in the middle of the woods nowhere. It's literally like nothing is around. You have to get there. It's like make a left at the oak, make a right at the maple. Like there's nothing.
Listen, that's me right now. I'm
right?
sitting. There's a forest right behind here, so I take the dog for a walk through a forest, which is what I did about 2 hours ago.
Right. And that's where we live now on Long Island. It's the same thing. We have a 40 acre parcel of like there's the county parkland out there. And then we're also right on the water. So we get the best of both worlds. Like we can walk like down like where the beach is and get, involved with all of that. It's beautiful. Or we could just go through the woods and be part of the forest woodland scene, which is amazing. But what I didn't realize about Renaissance music is, and until I moved in with him, I didn't realize this. When he was listening to it around the house, and then I'd look out the window and you're surrounded by trees and the forest, and the deer are eating, from the leaves on your lawn. They're like just walking around, the snow is falling down.
Yep.
And it was the visual was just so perfect nature-wise. And then listening to the audio, everything worked together. It's like that perfect marriage of audio and visual. It resonated. It just like had that perfect hum. And that's when I felt like, oh, now I get it. When I had everything where it was like the soundtrack to what nature is, to what I was seeing. And then you feel like you're living it because you can hear the music and you can kind of walk through the woods, and it really becomes like this other multi-dimensional kind of vibe that you're getting from the music.
It's funny because I listened to the album before, and I'm hearing the music as you're saying this, and I'm picturing myself walking the dog in our little forest here.
Oh.
And yeah, you can sort of get that visual thing of, you're going, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's very peaceful and it's almost cinematic in its scope.
It's like really like you just stepped into a movie, or like one of those from like another time, and it was so easy to transport to any time period at that point, because you have what you're walking through, what the sense of the forest, you feeling the wind in your hair, and you're feeling whatever's around you, and that fresh air, and hearing that sound too. It just kind of like really catapulted it to another level for me.
Yeah, that I totally, you hear folks say, well, Richie should be doing more rainbow, he should be doing more guitar, and then you hear you talk and describe this, and you go, yeah, that makes total sense now. It makes total sense as to the whole concept about it. Now it's been 10 years, 11 years, no, 6 years since the last album. Richie was doing the rainbow stuff for some of that with Ronnie Romero and all that. Talk to me about getting back and deciding, okay, it's been a few years, now it's time. How do you start writing for this? Are these songs that have been sitting around for a few years and you say, okay, let's go, it's time to record them? Or do you sit down last year and go, okay, now it's time? And how do you come up with the songs for this?
Yeah, I think even when he was doing the rainbow stuff, which I think he started back to Reform in 2016, what we would do is we would plan some of the festival dates. He did only like a handful of festival dates with Rainbow each year.
Yeah.
He didn't do like a full world tour or like play a lot of venues. It would literally be like 4, maybe 5 maximum in different areas, Finland, Spain, maybe Germany.
Good. Leave the people wanting more. It's a good plan.
Exactly right. Exactly. And it worked. I mean, every year when he went back, every year since then, it was just amazing, the response, and the reaction that he was getting. But after doing those few dates with Rainbow, we would take a couple of weeks off. We would fly the guys in and some of the girls from Blackmore's Night, and instantly go into a Blackmore's Night tour. So it's not like we took time off of Blackmore's Night. We actually back-to-backed it, which is really hard for him because when he's playing electric on stage, his fingernails have to be really short to play electric. And then when he goes into acoustic, it's like he's trying to will his fingernails to grow, within 2 weeks. And he's doing everything he can to kind of like pull those nails out so he could do the acoustic work that he's got to do. So I think technically it gets a little tricky. But so we always did both of those projects going on. Nothing really kind of, grind to a halt 100%. And we're writing all the time. So because we're around each other, nobody needs to clock in and clock out and book studio time. And, it's so much easier because we're always around each other. So he's, always with the acoustic guitar hanging around and coming up with these amazing songs. And then there's me, in the other room, he calls me in and we're able to work on songs all the time.
All the time. Let me just, I don't mean to cut you off, but you said studio time, which I find interesting. Does Richie, or do you and Richie have your own home studio, like a professional home studio, or just a Pro Tools rig, or do you actually have to go somewhere to record?
I'm laughing because I'm going to spin you around. I'm going to show you what we got going on here.
Okay, here we go. Let's have a look.
I got to move some of this stuff around.
If I spin around, you're going to see dogs, and a lot of dogs.
And you know, I would love that too. You know, I'd love to see the dogs. All right, so here's what we got going on in this room. Okay, so we've got
there you go. Okay.
Gurdy. We've got, so these are the systems that we got going on here in this little room that I'm in.
Oh, wow.
Now, ironically, what happens is the producer that we use, Pat Regan, we've been using him, gosh, even since the Rainbow stuff in 95. So what happened was he did our Shadow of the Moon album on the Radar Otari, which I'm sure anybody who knows anything about studio stuff, I don't personally, but I just remember these names. It was a great system. We loved the sound he got on Shadow of the Moon. And then we asked him, we were like, well, you know, he had to fly back and forth from LA, and he was constantly bringing this rig, like, you know, whenever he had to work on this is a lot of equipment to bring back and forth. So he said, why don't you just leave the rig here? He wanted to update and upgrade his stuff anyway. So we left his rig here. So we have all this equipment for him, and we bought it from him. So what winds up happening as he upgrades, he no longer needs any of this stuff. He now comes with the Pro Tools stuff, and he brings his little suitcase and he just sets up like basically on top of all of this stuff that I've got over here. And then if I ask any producer if they know how to use the Otari, the radar system, they look at me like, that's a dinosaur. Nobody uses that. So
you know what? Some of those dinosaur consoles sound the best. Yeah, that's the thing though. You know?
So I have all this equipment, but I think at this point, you know, we just turn it on to keep warm in this room.
Now, is it just the one room? Because one of my neighbors is Aldo Nova. He lives down the road.
Okay.
You know, life is just a fantasy. And you go into his house, and what should be a living room is a studio. And what should be a guest bedroom is a studio. And what should be a basement is two studios. Is that kind of the thing? I mean, the only thing that's functional at Aldo's house that I noticed was his bedroom, half the kitchen, and well, that's pretty much it. And a bathroom. Everything else has is there.
Bathroom's important.
Bathroom's important. Yeah. Everything else. This is the thin synthesizer room. This is the bass room. Anyway, is that sort of how it's set up at your place? Do you have multiple little rooms like that, or do you actually live in your house?
No, we live in our house. Now, I'm assuming Aldo knows how to use all that equipment. I think that's probably the difference between us. Like, yes. We are complete technophobes. I don't know how to mess with any of this stuff. Like, we're strictly on the instrument basis, the vocal basis, the, you know, like the writing lyrics, writing music, and then we rely on somebody else to press all these fancy faders and buttons and things like that.
Yeah, that ain't me. I have no clue.
No, me neither. But when we first moved into this house, I mean, first of all, we loved this house because of the location, like we said, next to the woods and right on the water, which is gorgeous. And then it had like sort of a medieval vibe to it. We completely transformed it to be totally medieval. You know, we changed all the white walls are now, well, they're lighter in here, but there's a lot of dark wood. There's a lot of stone. There's a lot of
sounds gorgeous.
And yeah, so when we first moved in, we had the whole lower level here. And Richie said, I want to be the only musician who doesn't have a studio in my house. I want a bar. I want a dungeon bar room. Actually, I'm taking you again with me because this room, the studio room is right off the bar. It's very dark. I don't know if you can see this, but this is see how dark this is. This is our bar.
It is a little dark, but we're getting there. Of
course, you can't see anything here. These are, I'll probably go back.
I saw Carol's.
Yeah, it's, I wish I had lights. We live in a cave, basically. I'm not allowed to have any lights, but he likes it like this. Here, wait a second. Maybe if I close up some things.
That's great.
Oh, but so you're able, and he's got all of his, you know, all of his awards and stuff on the walls, lining.
Oh, I love it. That's the way it should be. It's perfect.
So the precedence was we needed the medieval dungeon room bar with the foosball table, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then secondly, what little closet room can we put our studio in when we actually needed it out of necessity?
By the way, this is great. You got me picturing all these things. So now I've got guitarist extraordinaire Richie playing foosball while listening to Cherry Pie from Warren. This is terrific. This is the greatest revelation ever. We talked before we started recording about animals, and you've been very, very active in taking care of animals, donating to animal charities, and so on and so forth. First of all, is that just you, or is that you and Richie? Is this like a shared passion or a Candice passion?
No, it's definitely shared passion. We both love animals, absolutely. And we'll do anything. We always say, like, the thing is that, animals ask so little, but they give so much in return.
Yeah.
I mean, constant outpouring of love, of just affection. We have a rescue cat now that we just got from a place around the corner from us called Save a Pet. And we just adopted this beautiful little black cat who was abandoned in a parking lot somewhere. Nobody wanted it. So we're like, we'll take it. But we were grieving for our last one we had for 16 years, and he waited until we got home from tour for one day, and then he passed. So, I'm not the kind of person who thinks, oh, that's it with that one, let's get a new one. You have a grieving process because that's part of your family, it's part of your heart. So, but we were ready to get the next one. So we've got Winter Blackmore, and he's our rescue cat from Save a Pet. Yes. So we're always doing things year round. We're always like donating. If it's not funds, we go on their website and we see what they need. They always have the equipment list of, paper towels and sheets and blankets and toys or whatever for the animals. So we'll always just stop off and drop things off, usually takes a wheelbarrow to bring everything in, but we try to keep his out.
That's terrific. And again, we share a commonality there because we had two dogs before, a black one and a white one. The white one died 2 years ago, and we didn't run out and buy a new one. And then at the around Valentine's Day this year, so 2 years later, we got the Chihuahua, who's a rescue, 9 years old. And it was actually kind of a fun way that it got together, because I go on these 5-kilometer walks every day with this black dog. And I was in the forest, and the lady who runs the shelter saw me in the forest, and she goes, I see you walking every day, blah, blah, blah. You take good care of your pets, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, do you want to, we have this dog that's 9 years old. He's, nobody wants him because he's 9 years old. Would you take him? So we met in the forest, and from the forest meeting, we got a new dog.
What a great start. Perfect.
Right. And that's a great thing. So in terms of then, and I'll get off the animals in a second because we're not here for, but
you obviously read something about you. I mean, you don't, especially when you're running like these animal shelters, you get a vibe off of people. When someone's not going to do well for animals. So you obviously give out, like, you emanate like a really good vibe. So
she sees me all the time. Because I go on these 5K walks that eventually work her way past her house. And I'm there every day. I never miss, and I work from home. So they were like, that's perfect. So yeah, they could tell, they knew. It's a good thing. Anyway, in terms of Nature's Light, let's get back to the album for a second, because Carol will be disappointed if we talk about animals and not the album. Is this something that you hopefully will bring out on tour, or do you look at the whole COVID situation and say, okay, you know what, this one we'll just put it out and we'll get to touring next year, and make another album in between? What do you sort of see in terms of the future for this? Is it drops, stop, drop, and roll, or let's get on the road, let's make sure COVID's over, and let's try to get this up and have a show around it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for everyone, safety is a number one. Richie was saying, he said he wanted to take a break, but he didn't want to take a break for this long. I mean, this is a long time to wait to get back on stage. And we did a couple of those streaming shows. So the first one, and I'm not very good with technical stuff. So, but when I clocked onto it, we did it on Facebook, and we got a few million people actually tuned in, and they were so excited just because at that point, the COVID thing hit in March, and I think we did it in May. And then we did another one like soon after that for a news station that was interested in having us do it through their platform. So but people were just so happy to tune in. It was just him and I. It wasn't like the whole band. It was just acoustic stuff. It was literally in our home. So
that's all you need. That's all you need.
Like, feel like you're hanging out on our couch, and I'm reading like little teletext. People are typing things in, and I'm trying to like read what they're saying and taking the requests that way and talk to people one-on-one. But and that was great for that time. But there's, you know, the energy, like that live energy of being on stage, nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. So I would love, I mean, I think both of us would love at this point to, we actually had a really good sized US tour that was planned, and obviously everything had to stop. Everything was pulled off. We even had Nature's Light slated to be released last year, but everything kind of was put on hold because, you know, there was nobody printing physical copies, the promotions, like nobody knew what was going on. Everything kind of just ground to a halt. So we're just happy at this point to get it out so people have some new music. They're able to see some new videos. They're able to, you know, have something new that they can listen to. Of course, we're dying to get back on the road, but I feel like now we're slotted in behind everybody else who's stopped from going on the road too. So trying to find any availabilities in halls that everybody's trying to flood in on in the market. Everything's so tricky. So
you know, it is rough, and you're right. A lot of bands held off on putting out albums, and people went, well, you should have put it out. Everybody was home to pay attention. But for those that wanted to make vinyl and CDs, there's like, right, but none of the stores that print are. So we're kind of stuck. And now you're in this glut where everybody's out, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, you feel like you can breathe again a little bit now that, you know, you're able to get physical product in your hand, and, you know, the vinyl you can get in your hand, and it's like, oh, great, at least I can touch these things again, and you don't have to just stream things. So yeah, a lot of stuff was, even like the promotions, like being able to talk to you. I have nobody who was able to, you know, put this stuff together. Everything just stopped.
I know.
So
It was terrible. Now I'm on the free Zoom here, so it's going to shut down on us in a couple of minutes, but I do want to get a couple more questions in. We've talked about the sort of cinematic kind of view when you hear this music. Is doing soundtracks of any interest? Have you done soundtracks, or do you want to write specifically for a soundtrack? Do movie studios write you and say, man, this would be perfect?
You know, they don't. As a matter of fact, we had one of our songs placed in a movie, Jim Carrey's movie, Yes Man, which was interesting to have. They chose Old Mill Inn, which was great. Every once in a while, we'll stumble across that somebody's used our songs in something, but I think that's more of a publishing thing. And so we just started with a new publisher. I think we're with Warner now as a publisher. So hopefully they'll be able to get our stuff in some of it, because there's so many movies, so much television there's so much that could use this music.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I could even see you create something very specific, and, you know, they come to you and say, all right, Richie and Candice, we need you to create some music for this project. And I think obviously you have the ability to do it. And I think it would be great to have like a soundtrack albums. Just anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you totally.
And the last thing I'll ask you here is, I was speaking to Ronnie Atkins before of Pretty Maids. He's done some stuff with Tobias and Avantasia. You've done stuff with Tobias and Avantasia. How was that experience for you? Because I saw it in Montreal a couple of years ago, and I really didn't know what to expect in terms of performance. I knew the albums, of course, and it was just phenomenal. It was fantastic. I mean, it was just fun. How was it for you as a performer, though?
I'll tell you what, I didn't know what to expect when I heard from Tobias. He wrote to the management and asked if I would be willing to, you know, apply my voice to Moonglow. It wound up being the title track of the album, which was a huge surprise and an amazing honor that he saved that for me and had that in mind. And then I filmed the video. He did his parts, I think in Serbia, like somewhere overseas, and then I did my parts here. Everything was kind of flown in together, so it was seamless. He is just the nicest guy. As a matter of fact, the last concert that I went to before this whole pandemic hit was going to see Jeff Tate. And yes. His voice is always stellar, like always. You know, he never fluctuates.
Jeff Tate's a rock god. I mean,
oh my God, absolutely. I mean, I tell you, I lived on Mindcrime for a good year at one point. Like that's all I would listen to. And so even like having my name paired with any project that he does was again, just amazing for me. So, but I was able to hang out with him backstage, and we were talking about Tobias, because Jeff not only does he do the music, but he also does the tours with him too.
Right.
And he was just saying, even the tours, it's just like a big family. It's just so much fun. I haven't done the touring because I'm always like, you know, stuck doing other stuff. But
you got to do the touring. It's first of all, it's great because you come on for 3 songs and you get the rest of the night off, which is terrific. But it's just such a production, and the fans love it. And especially in Montreal, we don't see Eric Martin come up here that often. We don't see Jeff come up here that often. We don't see Ronnie Atkins of Pretty Mates ever.
Right.
And it's just cool to see these different people that just don't get here here. And
I have friends who actually flew to Canada just to see the Aphasia program. They were just like, they loved it. They've been following them everywhere, and they took off and went to Canada to watch the shows that were going on there. So yeah, it's a movement. It's a big thing. And I was just so proud to be part of that. It was amazing. And the song is fantastic. The whole album's fantastic.
Well, yeah, everything Tobias touches is great. And it's a good vibe. And I can't say enough. And then the last thing I'll say is you've had 2 solo albums.
Yep.
Any plans on number 3? Make, as we say in French, jamais deux sans trois, never 2 without 3.
I love how that sounds.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it again. Jamais deux sans trois. That's the expression. Right. Never 2 without 3.
I've got 5 songs already recorded for the next one. So I'm saying that's a definite resolute yes. I am working on my 3rd one to come. Actually, I've got we're back with our original record label who put out Shadow of the Moon back in 1997. They're doing a phenomenal job. And one of the things they wanted to work on was having me put out another solo album. So I've definitely
perfect.
That in the works. We're almost halfway through the recording process.
See, and you can steal the French expression as the album title. Jamais deux sans trois, never 2 without 3. Perfect.
Definitely work on my pronunciation on that one. Sure. You can be my tutor.
I'll be your tutor on that one. I'll teach you how to do that. Nature's Light, folks, is out on March 12th, which is this Friday. And as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. An absolute pleasure. I could go on forever. Zoom won't let me, but I could go on forever. Merci bien.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again another time.
Absolutely. I'll do these all summer long. Just let me know. But
all right.
Cheers. Merci.
Lots of love to you and your dogs and your wife.
Oh, yes. I guess should we get the dog in on it real quick?
Please. Oh, I'm always up for getting the dogs.
Hold on. Come here, Max. This poor puppy is like, I just want to sleep. There you go.
I know, he's like, you're using me as a prop. He's just so darn cute, though.
Cool.
That I can feel that he's super duper soft. Like I can feel it from here.
He is, and we let him look like a Wookiee in the winter because it's cold. He's gonna get his April shave down very shortly, but he's got that big.
Do the lion cut on him, just like the big head, like a lion cut, like the big head, and the poof on the tail.
Well, in January it was like minus 17 Celsius, so I can't have him shaved down.
No, definitely not. No,
and no. We don't put the booties or the coat on him. It's real simple. He can handle 20 minutes, and then he hops in my jacket. And so we leave him, but coming in April will be the shave down. He'll look more like a dog in less Star Wars Wookiee, but anyway, there you go.
I love it.
Absolutely. Merci bien. Have a good night.
Au revoir.
Bonsoir.